So with the new year, I decided to do a video on begging. So BeamNG is a big game with a lot to offer, and I'm just trying to put in some suggestions for things that the devs should add in my opinion. I'm going to start with some of the more simple suggestions and then work my way up into suggestions that I think won't happen at least for the next couple of years, but would still be pretty awesome. So the first couple of wishes are pretty small. So to start, I'm going to do a quick lightning round of everything that I personally would like to see. So the first thing that I would like to see is having windows be able to, actually roll up and down. Potentially also a working radio system, something similar to GTA 4's Independence FM, where you could put files into an app data folder and then have them play like some sort of playlist. The ability to customize the ECUs on the ETK I-series and ETK I-series would also be nice, because like, come on, it's only right. And I'll admit, I was a little too hard on the 800 series. I just didn't really fuck with not being able to customize the ECU on it. Anyway, the ability to ceramic tint your windows would also be pretty cool too, especially considering we got a limousine not too long ago. And also having your car collecting dirt on the paint or having your paint get chipped would also be interesting. However, this one is easily the most advanced out of all of these, so I wouldn't expect it to come anytime soon. So the next thing on my BeamNG wish list is a revamp of the ETK I-series. Not as a fucking refresh like what they did with the Miramar or the other two ETKs. I think those three are owed a lot more than a refresh. I mean, I want the I-series to at least have a remaster like the Sunburst did. And by the way, the Sunburst is an S-tier vehicle now in my opinion. Either that, or for it to have an entire remake like the BX series did. Now, the I-series has received some basic changes like what's under the hood visually changing, but ultimately these changes are pretty small for what is a rather outdated vehicle. And that's the problem. This vehicle is fun to drive, but its textures and models are outdated, especially compared to other vehicles such as the Brocal Bastion, and its overall variants are kinda limited compared to other vehicles such as the newly revamped Sunburst. And also, I am a sucker for boxy vehicles such as the I-series or first generation Pessima, and considering that this is like the only boxy German vehicle in the game, I think it's owed a proper revamp. Alright, now this is an addition I don't think would be super far-fetched, but I do certainly think that it would be beloved by the entire community. And that's a proper V12 supercar. Now currently there's two supercars in the entire game, both under Chevetta. There's the Bolide, which is from the 80s, has a V8 and no electronic safety systems. However, it does look gorgeous, especially from the inside. And it is still incredibly fast, despite you having to fight for control of it. And it's basically just a Yalpa. The other supercar is the Shintia, which I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. It's a modern supercar powered by a V10, and it too looks gorgeous and also has surprisingly good customization, especially considering it's a supercar. And while both these cars are great and fast, I think it would be awesome to make the Italian supercar trifecta complete and add a V12 supercar. Something in between the old and the modern, like a Diablo, Murcielago, or Enzo. But I would also be just as happy if it were an older supercar such as the Countach or F40, and would be also just as happy if they made it a modern one too. Either way, I think the BeamNG devs would definitely do it a lot of justice. The next thing I want is a more general want, but I swear we need more modern vehicles, and not the ones where the entire dashboard is a touchscreen. I think a way to do this would be to have vehicles have multiple generations. Currently, only the Ibishu Pessimo, which is supposed to be like a Toyota Camry or Honda Civic, has more than one generation. And honestly, I think this could probably be done with other vehicles such as the Gavril D series or Romer especially. I know that modern full-size SUVs and crew pickup trucks are impractical vehicles to own in real life, and are usually, keyword usually, owned by 40-year-old guys with insecurities about their manhood, or my Salvadoran uncle who uses it for work, or some mixture of both. But they do undeniably look cool as fuck. So I think they're a worthy addition to BeamNG, and it would also be cool to see more modern versions of the Hiroshi SBR4, or a more modern variant of the Pessima, or Hopper, or potentially a hybrid or electric vehicle if you really want to go there. This next wish kind of ties into the last one, but being that the devs seem to be going on a frenzy with new commercial vehicles, including the 2 new ones that prove that Hiroshi is basically Yamaha, I think it's only right we get a modern semi-truck. Either an American truck or a European truck will do just fine for me. However, knowing how the rest of the community is, I think it would be more preferred if it was a European truck. Additionally, I do think a modern bus would be cool alongside bendy versions of the bus. And finally, I think this one's a little fringe, but having a box truck from Japan would also be pretty cool. Now this one is a touch crazier than the last two, but I think it would be interesting for vehicle manufacturers in this game to have luxury/sport divisions for their vehicles. Now there do exist 2 different vehicle divisions, Burnside, which is under Gavril, and Soliad, which is under Brookell, and I personally think they should be expanded upon more. For example, some vehicles do offer luxe trim options, but you look at these vehicles and from the outside they don't exactly scream luxury. So I do think having Burnside do something like make the equivalent of the Town Car or Escalade would be cool. Maybe Ibishu could also have something similar to a Lexus and make various luxurious variants of its existing fleet alongside supercars or sports cars, such as an equivalent for the NSX, LFA, or GTR. Perhaps ETK could also have something similar to Maybach and make luxurious vehicles. Now, these next wishes are even more unlikely to happen anytime soon, if they happen at all. And to start off, I would like to have better aerodynamics. Now, BeamNG's current aero system is pretty simplified to my knowledge at the moment, so I feel like having more advanced aerodynamic simulation could help it a lot. It is also confirmed that we are getting better tire physics at some point in the future, so I do think this could help with BeamNG becoming the go-to driving game, not just as a racing sim, but for its variety of vehicle simulations, which is what initially attracted me to the game in the first place. And since we're talking about the air, let's talk about something that feeds off the air: fire. So in the fun stuff menu for the game, there's an option to blow up the vehicle. So I'm gonna blow up this vehicle in a couple seconds, and I just want you to imagine how that will go before I do it. So now let's blow this shit up. You call that an explosion? Also, the fire could definitely be a lot more dynamic, considering one of the most notable features of this game is its crash simulation, so I feel like this one's a bit of a no-brainer to improve. Then there's fluid simulation. This could also potentially work with a more dynamic fire, since fire could spread to like gasoline. Also, there's the fact that cars have a lot of fluids in them, you know, transmission fluid, gasoline, diesel, brake fluid, whatever the fuck that one guy's putting in his Yaris to make it run on a single cylinder. It would also help to simulate situations such as an engine blowout where the oil can leak. A feature like this could also make fire trucks actually usable, but once again, this one seems pretty advanced and would probably take a really long time to be, implemented. Okay, so this is actually kind of a last minute one that I'm putting in here, but I think another cool feature would be for BeamNG to have official online support. And the reason why I think this would be cool is that, yeah, we do have BeamNP, but also there are other game modes that BeamNG has and other ones that are currently in early development that I think would be very cool if they had official online support, such as the rally mode or career mode. So ultimately, I think this would be a great feature. Oh yeah, Light Runner in multiplayer would also be very cool. So yeah. Now let's talk about the second to last thing on my BeamNG wish list, and that is for more international maps. You see, a majority of BeamNG maps are based in the United States. Granted, the United States is a pretty great country for driving games due to its diverse landscapes, car-oriented infrastructure, but that doesn't mean every map should be based exclusively over here. The only other country with a proper map, in my opinion, is Italy, which only just recently received an update after getting cucked by West Coast USA for how long now. And Italy is perhaps one of the more unique maps in the game because of its tight mountain roads, and my question is, why can't we do the same for other countries? I think the two maps that are in the biggest need of a proper map are Japan and Germany, considering they're two of the big three when it comes to cars, in my opinion. The other one being, of course, the United States. Also, can we please have a different major city other than the Belasco City? You had all these American cities to choose from, and you guys specifically went with the second worst city to drive in behind Pittsburgh. And finally, for what I believe is an update that will probably not happen in a long while, dynamic weather. So this update would require multiple things on my wish list to already exist probably to work properly. And when I say dynamic weather, I don't just mean rain, but I also mean snow, windy conditions, and flooding. That's probably the most that we'll ever need. I don't think you need to simulate a goddamn tornado. But this, like I said before, would be pretty complex and is probably pretty far down the devs' priority list as far as new features are concerned. And that concludes my BeamNG wish list. To be honest, a lot of these probably won't get added for a long while, but hey, a man can dream. But hold on, before we get to the end, I think I have one last suggestion, and that's for BeamNG to make an ultra realistic driving rig that simulates forces of up to 100 Gs. It goes something like this.